It's not about, it's not about, it's not about the injury. It's not about, it's not about, it's not about the injury. It's about the recovery. It's about the recovery.
Hi folks, Paul Padda with you for another episode of the Paul Padda Podcast, coming to you from Red Chimp Studios. Hey, today I am excited to have someone who is a really interesting guest, but also someone I consider a personal friend. Welcome, Fayaz Raja. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, Paul.
And it's really exciting to have you. You know, you and I, we go back a number of years. We've been friends for years, and I've kind of seen you as a really successful business person. You're in the insurance industry. You've been very active in politics, very active in democratic politics, and now you're actually a candidate. So I look forward to kind of delving into all of that today, and getting to have the viewers get to know you a little bit better. Thank you for coming on the show.
Well, thank you, Paul. I appreciate that. And my name is Fayaz Raja, and I came to town in about 40 years ago. I was at the Cornell University and came to town in Las Vegas to visit, and met a girl, got married, never left. So
Sounds like a common story. Met a girl and got married.
Yeah, exactly. So I was very fortunate. So I got married, then I went back to school. So I got UNLV. I went to.
Did you go to Cornell's hotel management school?
Yeah, hotel management school.
A lot of people don't know that, but Cornell is an Ivy League school that has the best I think UNLV and Cornell are the two best hotel management programs in the country.
In 70s, the Cornell was the top in the world.
In the world, yeah.
Yes, and that was something that I was, very excited about going there. But when I finished that and came here, then UNLV it become, because we have so much billion-dollar property that
Right.
Cornell does not have that.
Right.
So we have a facility where the intern can go and learn, on that. As for comparing to Cornell, Cornell have a very small hotel, or facility. So I was very fortunate that I went to UNLV, completed my hotel administration, and then I went to political science. I got my political science because I want to go to law school, but then I got a job. My job was six-figure, and I said, no, what I'm going to do, do I need to step down and go back to a student and, become, again, a poor, how that is, because
Yeah,
you're
struggling student,
So
yeah.
I thought, no, I'm going to stay on that. So that's what I carry for the private business. So that's what I spent about 28 years in,
Wow,
in the
great.
casino business. I opened a big MGM and Monte Carlo and end up at the Caesar as a director of food and beverage. So, yeah.
So you're like a walking history book of Las Vegas. You came here when this town was very small. Do you even recognize Las Vegas today?
No, not at all. When I came in town late 70, it was 250,000 people.
Wow.
Very small town. We don't even, I remember that we had a much freeway. I mean, I-15 and small 95 was a certain area I could go. And town was very small, but now we got almost 3 million people. So it's changed.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's changed. And I'm so...
it's changed and it's changing.
It's changing also too. I think the Raiders Stadium, that is going to change the whole landscape of that. And last night I was at the first Tuesday of the month, the police department, they do some kind of get together. I was there with the Tom Warden. He was describing how the Summerlin is going to have thousands and thousands of home built and all that. Beautiful. I mean, it was a beautiful presentation. So it's, I would say 10 years next, we are going to have a totally different look of the Las Vegas. Yeah.
Now, before we get into your political activism, let's talk a little bit about what you do on a day-to-day basis. So you're in the insurance industry.
Yes, 9 to 5, I work as a insurance broker. My agency is called O'Brien Insurance Agency.
If people were to find you on the web, where would they go?
Yeah, they can find me on the web, and it's called www.o'brieninsurance.agency.com.
Is there a main number to call?
There's a number to call. It's area code 702-321-4512.
Okay.
And my office is a 9680 West Tropicana, right between Port Apache and Tropicana.
You sell all kinds of insurance, correct?
I sell everything. I sell
auto insurance, life
auto
insurance.
home insurance, workman comp, health insurance, life insurance, and Medicare. So have everything, any kind of insurance somebody you want. I mean, we can insure a casino, the hotel, building, office, and personal also too.
Wow.
Umbrella policy, liability insurance, any kind of insurance that you're looking for, we sell it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, as a personal injury attorney, so I deal with insurance all day long. My clients, obviously, who are involved in car accidents come in. And it's amazing to me how people underestimate the possibility of something bad happening to them. And then when they are in that situation, they find out that they regret having selected the smallest amount of coverage possible. I mean, the law requires now a minimum $25,000 policy, but if you've been sideswiped or T-boned or rear-ended and you end up with whiplash, your medical bills can easily exceed $10,000, $15,000, $25,000 is not that much. What do you do when you have clients come in? Do you, just as out of curiosity, I mean, how many people sort of really ask what are the limits of coverage?
Paul, this is a very good question in a way, because a lot of time when I deal with the customer, they just want to get the minimum requirement, which is $25.50 and $25 the bodily injury and property damage. And I try to recommend them that it's very important to have a proper coverage, because if you have a asset, you own a home, business, you need to have
that's at risk.
Yeah, because you don't want to take a chances. So I really sit down with them and I call it myself a trusted advisor. I say, listen, I know the insurance business. You may not know, a lot of people, they take the insurance policy and they just put it away and they don't see that. And I don't want to be one of those customers, you as a person that are coming to me. So I sit down and explain them. If you have a home, if you have a business, you should have a two most important part: the higher coverage and a full coverage. Some people, they just take the liability only.
Right.
Because state of Nevada requires only basic liability. They don't look at the comprehensive inclusion unless you have a lease car or the you have a loan on that.
Now, for those of us in the industries, personal injury attorneys, as an insurance broker, we often refer to as what's called UIM coverage.
Yes.
Uninsured motorist or underinsured motorist coverage. Explain to our viewers the difference between, and I'm amazed how many people don't understand the difference. Explain the difference between just liability insurance versus having this additional layer of protection.
Okay. Liability insurance is basically all you're protecting somebody else.
Yeah.
Let's say if you have a $25,000, $50,000 liability insurance, which is a 25. I wanted to explain that if you don't mind, because a lot of people don't understand. $25,000 is a one person who's driving the car.
Right.
50,000 is as many people in the car.
Right.
That's a maximum they will cover.
All they can get is that pocket of that barrel of money is 50,000.
50,000.
Yeah.
So let's say if somebody's hurt really.
Let's say we have a van and you have 10 people in that car.
10, exactly.
Those 10 people have to fight over the 50,000.
50,000. Thank you. That's a good question. That's very good explanation. And that's very important, is that a lot of people don't understand.
Right.
So you're protecting not you, you're protecting somebody else, because that's for somebody else. No, which is uninsured motorists and underinsured motorists, you're protecting yourself.
Right.
Let's say if somebody hits and run and you don't have, and you don't know who that person is, you are really in a very disadvantage. But if you have an uninsured motorist and underinsured motorist, and they can't find the other person, your insurance company will pay for it.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's a very important to have. And a comprehensive collision is also if a car is newer, let's say 10 years, 15 years, or 5 years old, you should have a full coverage, because comprehensive collision is good, that if the car is damaged, they will pay for the replacement of the car.
So I always ask my clients these questions. I say, do you drink and drive? And most people say, no, try not to. Are you an irresponsible person? And they say, no, I'm not. I said, well, do you think you're the kind of person that just drives so crazy that you're going to cause an accident? No, I'm very careful on the road. I said, great. Well, guess what? None of that matters, because you can wake up in the morning and control your own actions. But what about the other people out there who are going to hit you? And I said, most people think in terms of, if I cause an accident and I get sued, well, I want protection. So they get the basic minimal liability policy. But most people are not thinking that, hey, you know what? I go to a job every day and we live in a 24/7 city, and maybe there's somebody on the road who is drinking and driving. Maybe there is some crazy person who's not following the rules and they're speeding in a 25-mile-per-hour zone. They're going 50. What happens when I get hit by that person and I don't have insurance coverage and they don't have good insurance coverage? Well, guess what? You're out of luck. And that's why it's so important to have this UM/UIM
It's
coverage.
I think it's a very good question, Paul, and I think you explained it very clearly, because a lot of people, they don't think that way. I mean, you can be very responsible driver, but you have no control on the other side, all those people on the road.
Yeah.
So in order to protecting you from other, the people who are not a responsible driver or maybe reckless driver, so you have to have that, the uninsured, underinsured motorist.
Now, can my viewers come in and meet with you and just say, hey, Fayaz, I'd like you to review my policy and tell me if you think I have good coverage? Are you?
I would love to, yeah, because that's what I call it as a trusted advisor.
Yeah.
You can come in, sit down with me.
Even if they're they have their policy with someone else, they
Yes.
can come in and say,
Yes.
can you review it and tell me
Yes.
what am I missing here? Okay.
I would love to, because that way I can educate them. I can make them understand what kind of coverage they have, if they're, if they're covered properly.
Yeah.
Because I believe myself that talking to my client, that when they come, I ask them those questions. I said, do you have any asset? You own a home? You have any business? Because these are very important. If something goes wrong while you're driving, even it's not your fault, it's going to affect that.
Yeah.
So it's better protect, because I always try to encourage them to have a umbrella policy.
Right.
Because umbrella policy, Paul, I tell you, it's a really so important, because that covers anywhere you at or any situation. Umbrella means when you're raining, you put the
Yeah.
umbrella and you can cover yourself so you don't get wet. Same with the policy is in a very similar, and it's so inexpensive.
That is amazing that you actually recommend that, because that really speaks volumes about you, that you care about your clients, to make sure that in the hopefully unfortunate situation that something bad happens, they're fully protected. Because I've not heard a lot of insurance brokers talk about an umbrella policy.
No, I love that. I tell them, say, listen.
And it is cheap.
Yeah, it's very cheap, because if you have a home and car, or even a rental and car, and if you combine them together, the discount what you get, it pays automatically for a few $100s a year. I
Yeah.
mean, for $1 million to $2 million, you can, and that's a very good protection, because at least they are not going to touch your assets. So your umbrella policy will even block that, will cover most of the
Right.
issues. So I recommend that most of the time. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's excellent. Now, what about MedPay? What is that? Medical payments coverage.
Okay, MedPay, it's a very unique situation. Some school of thought is that if you have a health insurance, if you have, let's say, Medicare, or if you work at the place that you have a health insurance, they say that that's a primary. If you're an accident, they will first thing they will cover that. So a lot of time people don't seem to understand that it's good to have health insurance, fine, but that protects you and your loved one.
Right.
Let's say your wife or your loved one is riding with you, but what about if your friend is riding with you and they had an accident and you don't have MedPay, medical insurance? Well, who's going to pay for them?
Yeah, that's a great point.
So I recommend them to have a medical insurance also, to at least a reasonable, we start talking about 25,000 to, because let's say if there is a small accident, they need to be transported to hospital and there is going to be a bill. Well, who is going to take care of your loved one, your wife or you, because you are covered that.
Sure.
So a lot of people don't understand. They say, no, I don't need medical because I have a medical. What? No. If you are transporting some friend and somebody who happened to be riding with you and you are in that situation, so you have to look about
you're protecting them as well.
Protecting them also too.
And it's really money that comes out to insurance companies. My experience, they just pay that right away.
That's right. They take care of right away. Yeah, they don't hold it. Yeah.
Now, does it cover a deductible?
There is a deductible for between 250 to 2,000, whatever that they have.
Yeah.
So they take that deductible out of that. But because it's each incident, whatever that you have, they take care of that. So yeah.
Okay. I got to tell you, I remember when I started my law firm, I had a couple or wife who came in with 2 young children. Her husband owned a driving school, and he had a 2550 policy. I couldn't believe it. It was such a low policy. at that time, actually it was a 1530 policy.
Oh, yeah,
because at that time the law was only that 15.
required that.
Thankfully, in Nevada, they changed the law
Yes.
to 25, I think 20, at least a minimum of 25.
Yeah, 2550, yes.
2550 now. So what happened was this young man had been T-boned by a woman in a Ford F-150 pickup truck who had no insurance. And he was left paraplegic. All he could do was move his neck. He could not move any other part of his body. And it was heartbreaking because, first of all, the lady who hit him had no assets to sue. And all he could get was he had the minimum policy, or actually she had 1530 and he had no UIM coverage. So all he could get was $15,000. I mean, that is a perfect illustration example of how something so catastrophic can happen. Had he had, let's say, maybe $1 million in UIM coverage, at least he would have had that money. But now he had to struggle with these medical bills for the rest of his life. So I tell all my clients how extremely important it is. People don't realize that. Think about how much time we spend every day in the car and the possibility that something bad can happen. It's amazing that people don't do more investigation to make sure that they protect themselves. So I want to invite everybody watching, if you have questions, please reach out to Fayaz. He is a wealth of knowledge.
Well, thank you very much. And what you mentioned about that situation, because I tried to recommend that at least minimum 300,000 liability, that and then $100,000 for the property damage, and same amount for the uninsured insured motor. Because if the situation like that, at least they have some money coming up to take it up, but and then having umbrella on top of that, so you are pretty much protected that a lot more. So and these are very important part where people sometimes you have to sit down and explain them. Once they understand,
people get it then.
People get it then.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Fayaz, we're going to cut to a second segment of our show we call Paul Padda for the People, where we throw out some tips and pointers, hopefully that are of use to people. But we'll be back and we'll talk about your community activism.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Paul Padda for the People, here with another pointer. A lot of people ask me, what's the difference between first party, third party, and what does it even mean? Well, first of all, here's what you need to know. The law requires everyone on the road to have insurance. If you're driving a car without insurance, you're violating the law. But if you get caught in an accident and someone else causes that accident, the coverage that applies to their vehicle, the insurance coverage, is referred to as third-party coverage. The insurance coverage that applies to your vehicle is referred to as first-party coverage. Don't ask me why they call it third-party coverage and not second-party coverage, but it's called third-party coverage. The insurance companies refer to it that way. Personal injury attorneys refer to it that way. Defense lawyers that defend personal injury cases refer to it that way. That's just how it's referred to. However, here's the important point. What you need to know is that you, as the victim of a personal injury accident in a car accident, can collect against both the third party and the first party. And when you come to Paul Padda Law, we help you do that. Paul Padda for the People. Hi folks, welcome back to Paul Padda Podcast. We are continuing the conversation with my friend and very wonderful guest, Fayaz Raja. Thank you, Fayaz, for coming on today. We learned a lot about insurance coverage, which is what you do in your, I guess, day job is the way I would describe it. But a lot of people who know you to be a longtime activist here in Las Vegas. An activist sometimes has a loaded meaning, but what I mean to say is that you've been very involved and active in trying to improve the Las Vegas community. I know you've done so much good works out there in terms of helping charities, being involved with politicians on both sides of the aisle. You've become very active in the Democratic Party. So let's talk a little bit about that. I know you're currently running for office. Is that correct?
Yes. Thank you, Paul. Thank you for having me. And right now I'm running for the County Commissioner District C. Larry Brown is going to be term out and is open seat. And the area is north of Charleston, west of Decatur. Decatur hits the Rancho hits the 95 going up all the way to the Mount Charleston. So that's the box. If anybody lives in that neighborhood, I would love to have their vote and their support. So that's what I'm going to be running, and June 9th is going to be our primary election, and then November the 3rd, I believe, is going to be the general election if I make to the primary.
So a lot of viewers probably, people who move here from other places, everybody knows what a governor does probably. People know what a state senator does. What does a Clark County commissioner do?
Well, Clark County Commissioner, basically their job is the zoning part to issue the, if you want to build a building, then you go to the county office and request for the zoning, and then they approve all that for the building permit, the zoning issues, all that. So that's what their responsibility, take care of the lights, take care of the street, take care of the road. So if there is a road or bridges needs to be repaired, built, school, parks, all that. Whatever.
Everything that falls within Clark County.
Within Clark County.
So you are basically like the board of overseers of the budget, of making sure the institutions that help administer Clark County function properly, correct? That would be including UMC, the hospital.
Yes, airport.
Of course, Metro, which is a huge budget, the airport. These are all within Clark County.
That's correct. Yeah, this is all health department also too. So all these things that there's about $6 billion budget.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a huge budget.
How is Clark County Commission different from the Las Vegas City Commission and the Henderson Commission?
They are because the county have their own. There's 7 counties, and there's 7 county commissioner who handles all the county, the issues. Then you have a city, which is the Las Vegas City. They have their own city councilman and mayor. Then you have a Henderson. They have their own city council and their mayor. And then you have a North Las Vegas, they have their own city council and their mayor. But the county is, it's overlapping, but in a different ways. So like we have.
Okay, let me give you an example.
Yeah.
Let's say I buy a piece of land and it falls within the city of Henderson, or it falls within the city of Las Vegas, and I want to put some kind of a building on there. Who do I go through, Henderson, or do I go to the Clark County Commission?
No, you go to the jurisdiction, whoever that in the jurisdiction. Let's say you're in Las Vegas City, you go to the city. City have a very similar setup that they go through the zoning, approving, all kind of stuff. Same process if you have a land in the county and you process in the county. Same thing if you are in Henderson or North Las Vegas. Then you go to North Las Vegas City Council and deal with their zoning and all that detail. So it's all. Each entity has their own.
I see.
So you have to find out where your property is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So now, why are you running for Clark County Commission?
Well, here, 40 years ago when I came to this town and met my wife, got married, I met her friends and the people who I saw and I met over the time, they were so gracious. I mean, they were so wonderful. And they give me so much, and this community have given me so much, and being involved with as a community activist and being involved with the nonprofit organization, so I found that I may be a value to our community. Since I moved here, I bought a home in '79, and I've been living there in the same neighborhood.
The same house since 1979?
Yes,
Wow.
40 years I've been in the same area, same precinct even.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I thought, why not get involved with that to help the community? Because I am not the elite. I'm not somebody who have a dad who's a governor of the state or senator. I'm just a somebody.
An average Joe, as
I'm
you
not
say.
exactly. I was waiting not to say that kind of, but I'm not. Yeah, rich Joe. So I feel like I could talk to the local community people to understand their need, because if there is a street is torn up, if there is a lights are out, if there is a trash is not picked up, all those, and if there is a security issue, because like you said, that the police department comes under the Clark County, because we have a funded, I think from the county, big chunk, few $100 million that goes to the police. So you can call the police department and ask them to take care of the security part. So whatever, if there's a robbery going on, if there's a car, a lot of different issues. So as a county commissioner, you can listen to the people and talk to them, and then you find out the issue, and then you can take care of that. So that's a direct, what I call it, a conversation with the individual, the people that you're in your community, in your constituency. Yeah.
Interesting. Now, you've also been very involved with the Democratic Party, I think through what's called the API or section of the Democratic. Explain for our viewers what that is.
Yeah, what happened many years back, I got involved with the Clark County Democratic Party. I become a central committee member. Then I run for election. I become a second vice chair for the Clark County Democratic Party. So I run for that, and then I got elected. Then at the same time, I got involved with the Asian American Pacific Island Democratic Caucus. That we have a caucus that it's affiliated, it's under the charter of the Clark County Democratic Party. So we work under their jurisdiction, and then we involve all the community members, the people who are all different countries. I mean, in Asian, you can have so many countries and so many different cultures, so many different languages. So we wanted to bring everybody together. So that's what I got involved with that. So I'm working that, and I got lucky that I got appointed last year as a community commissioner for AAPI, and that will give us a little bit more opportunity. We are 15 of us, and I'm one of the 15 that we will be kind of involved to build a community center. We'll do the fundraising. We'll also do the consensus. This year is going to be census, that we are going to also be involved with that and find out how much population, and our population is growing like a crazy. I mean, we are, I think, 10-12%. So also we don't have any voice, and we don't have a seat on the table as far as the government is concerned. So we are looking to encourage our youth to come in and to maybe run for office. And I'm using as an example, no, winning and losing, that's not my concern about it, because that's just a given. But I am just setting the standard or setting the precedent that if I can run, who came with a suitcase and a few clothes on, if I can run, somebody's born and raised in this country, they could do the same thing.
Yeah, so an inspirational example.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
So I think I read somewhere that the Asian community is the fastest growing in Las Vegas and Nevada in general. Is that true?
That's very true. And I think we are over a few 100,000 right now. That's going back to 2010's census. So now 2020, I think we have a really very strong feeling that we'll beat, the growth that, because since Las Vegas is growing, drastically, people are coming in town, getting a job. So our Asian community is also growing as fast as we can see that. So I'm looking forward to see a lot of the growth and the contribution that they bring in, all those different, the language and also the culture. And our community center, once is built, and I think that will be a one-stop shop for them, so they can have all the services available to them. And I'm very thankful to county commissioners. The 7 of them, they got together and they really created a board. And it's just it's a wonderful that I think it's a good thing happen for our community. Yes.
No, that's great. Well, obviously this is an exciting year of politics. We have a presidential election. The Republicans and the Democrats. The Democrats are obviously still trying to figure out who their nominee is going to be, going through that whole process. Interestingly, I know Nevada actually has played a very prominent role, because it wasn't always the case, but historically our primary was way back in the pack, but now Nevada has moved, I think, into 3rd or 4th place after South Carolina. So we'll have a lot of the Democratic candidates coming to Nevada to campaign. Explain to our viewers the difference between a primary and a caucus. Nevada is a caucus state like Iowa. What is the difference?
Well, here, as everybody saw what happened at the Iowa, because Iowa was the first state that they decide with the caucus who will be the nominee from the Democrat Party side, and then South Carolina will be the second state, and we are the 3rd one.
Is it New Hampshire in between?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Fourth,
yeah. So no, we are the 3rd. I believe.
See.
Yeah, we are the 3rd, if I'm not mistaken. So, the caucus is that it's a very time-consuming, and it's a very what I call it, where you go into a place where you have, let's say, 4 or 5 candidates, and you have to be aligning up to all those candidates. You could be, you take one individual to another, and we did. I wanted to share example of that we did a mock caucus, and we did not pick the individual. What we did, we picked the food.
No,
we
sorry.
picked the samosas,
Right.
and we picked different name of the food. So we didn't want to use the name of the individual who was running. So, and we show them how the process works. So a caucus is very unique. Is a very time
Very
consuming.
interactive.
It's a personal.
All right.
You make a decision who you want to be.
And you can be persuaded to move over and support
yes.
someone else.
Let's say if there is not a viable candidate, you don't have enough support, then you can decide to move over to the next one. And if the next one is not viable, you go to the next one.
Right.
So it's a process of really a very fascinating. I love that. It's just it's very expensive and it's very time consuming.
Yeah.
Primary, you just go and vote. And you walk away that. You can just put the vote there and you can have a 10 different candidate or 5. So it's a very simple. But what we did, and I think I want to take a 30-second to explain so a lot of people understand. The caucus, the Las Vegas or Nevada, what we did at the Democratic Party, that we have a 15th to 18th have a what we call it early voting. So because people are busy, they don't have a time, you can just go in and anywhere that the polling stations are, you don't have to go to your precinct.
I see.
You don't have to be in your area, your district. No, you can go anywhere you want in the where the polling is, and you go and vote, and it'll take just a 30-second or minute, and then you can walk away.
Wow.
So 15 to 18, that's the earliest. And if you don't have time, then you can do on 22nd, which is the D-Day, which is a Saturday between 7 in the morning to 7 p.m.
Yeah.
You can go to the same, all those locations, and you can do the same thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, but people have, all the caucus in the school, or, they will have all the list, that information, so they can do their caucus also. And that's very interactive. You will have a fun. You will enjoy. I mean, as a person, you will learn, understand, and you will do that really great. They can learn that.
You want to spend a Saturday, go caucus, huh?
Go caucus, exactly.
All
that.
right.
Yeah. So.
Fayez, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. We've learned a lot. We learned about insurance coverage. We learned about the Democratic caucus process. It's been a wealth of information, and thank you so much for sharing.
Well, thank you, Paul. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Good luck with everything.
Thank you, sir.
Folks, that's it for another episode of the Paul Padda Podcast. Until next time, be safe, be happy, and stay warm. Thank you.
It's not about